Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Donnie Glover Show. We're blessed to have a Baltimore icon with us today. Icon in the realm of sports, and he's made a name for himself nationally. And let me tell you, I've seen some of his early work, and where he is today, he's the envy of a lot of independent media entrepreneurs, media uh, journalists. He makes Baltimore proud. Good evening, Troy Hackley. How are you, sir?
Thank you. I'm great, Donnie. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Where you from, man?
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I grew up initially in the Gilmore housing
You
projects.
from Santan?
Yes, yes. And later on, we moved to a small community out by Windsor Mill Road called Forest Heights.
Almost a county boy?
Almost, but straight from the cities to the county. So you know that was a dramatic shift from one extreme to the other. Absolutely. Yes, it was.
So your family's from here?
Yes, my family is from Baltimore.
You
Yes.
know, I'm just curious. Any preachers in your family?
Not that I know of. Maybe my extended family that I'm not, really close to. I don't know. Not that I know of. Put it that way. Why do you say that?
Your daddy, not your granddaddy. I mean, you got this aura about you.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it's beyond your beat, the sports beat. Like you're no stranger to a microphone. Maybe you got some lawyers up your family tree.
Not a. Whatever it is, it's from God, and I humbly accept it to ride my destiny to where He wants to take me.
Okay, so did it all start at Baltimore City Community College?
Actually, when I was a kid, I used to sit in my sister's bedroom and narrate Monday Night Football to her. And she would tell me, "You're not going to narrate the football game in my bedroom watching football on television. You're not going to do it." Also, in my neighborhood, when I wasn't playing, I would get the younger kids and get them to play football in the street. And I would narrate them making the catches and the passes and scoring the touchdowns. And some of the parents in my neighborhood would have their windows open and they would have to work in the morning. And I could hear them yelling out the window, "Troy, you're not going to keep me up tonight. I got to work tomorrow." So it started as a child and, emulating the Howard Cosells and the
Let,
Muhammad.
let me let me hear your Howard Cosell.
My Howard Cosell would be, "Good evening," and how would Howard used to do that? It's been a while now, Donnie. Cosell would be more of a, "You are looking live into Madison Square Garden for tonight's basketball game between the New York Knicks and the Washington Wizards." That would be my Howard Cosell. Then I would do Ali. "I'm going to beat you. You know you can't beat me. I'm the best. I'm the greatest of all time." So I used to do that. This one, man, I was like 13 or 14, but I haven't done it in a long, long time.
Now, what high school do you
Ed-
claim?
Edmondson High School.
Did you play ball?
Yes, I played football.
So you was that Pete Pompey?
Yeah, it was Pete Pompey was my coach. Coach
Okay,
Pompey.
so I got a general idea of your age group. So, uh, what recreation center do you claim?
Woo! I guess I would have to say it was a variety of them. We had one recreational center out there when we moved out to Wakefield, and it was Dickey Hill Recreational Center. On the
Dickie Hill.
Yes, when we moved out there, first it was Gilmore Rec, and then we moved out to the county, and then it became that one.
Did you play BNBL?
I played basketball, organized. I played a lot of basketball for Woodlawn.
Okay.
Basketball, yeah, I played Woodlawn basketball growing up.
Okay.
And different A. I played football for Woodlawn, and one of the things for Woodlawn as a kid was to make the traveling team. And it was 10-12. And so that meant you didn't just play on Saturdays at the local football field. You traveled to Arbutus and Lansdowne and Columbia. And we had 2 uniforms. We had a practice uniform and game uniform. And I played for Coach Wiley. And making that final cut for the traveling team was a great honor for me as an 11-year-old.
So I want to ask you, Troy, if you come from Sandtown and then you playing ball out there, in the vicinity of Woodlawn, did you go through any culture shock when you played against the first white players?
Actually, the culture shock was moving into the area. Because when we moved out there, there may have been in an apartment complex, I want to say there may have been 20 apartments in each court. And you may have had 2 black families. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 courts. And you may have had 2 families out of those 20 apartments in each court in the vicinity of that complex. So it was a major culture shock moving from Gilmore Homes out there. And all the families were white. But the beauty is, as a kid, you see it, but you don't see it, especially when you make connections with other kids and it was sports related. So color kind of faded because now it's about, are we going on the field to play baseball? Are we going to the court to play basketball? Are we going in the street to play football? And so sports, the beauty of sports, Donnie, is it eliminates color. Now you just playing. And when on your team, that's your teammate. And you fighting for him. And you meeting their parents, and you want to spend the night over each other's homes. The beauty of sports, it eliminates color. So, but initially moving out there, just to, like when we moved out there, Donnie, they would have in the courts where it would be a milk company called the Seal Test truck. And they would leave your milk outside. And coming from Gilmore Homes, I couldn't believe that. Your bread would be left outside on the porch.
Nobody stole it.
Nobody stole it. Nothing.
A certain county code.
Woo! I was like, wow, this is it right here. I've never seen this before. You couldn't leave nothing outside down Gilmore. But
they steal Jesus off the cross.
Hey, wouldn't nobody take them? You know that. You could leave a Bible outside the projects with nobody touch it. So that was the big thing for me. And getting back to Pete Pompey, some of the things he said to me then still resonate today.
Like what?
He talked to us about one day, being a wino on the corner of Emerson Village, being a drug addict, later on in life if you don't do the right things. And it was foreign to us when he was talking about it, because you're talking to 15, 16, and 17-year-olds. They're like, Coach crazy. What is he talking about? But
no, Coach was very much on point.
But to us,
we
thought he was like, what is he talking about? And it became to be so pathetic, and that those things would occur in people's lives. And Pompey was, we had double sessions in August. So we had to be there 8 o'clock in the morning up Emerson High School.
His job was to make you tired. So you eat and go home, eat, take a bath, and go to sleep and get ready for another day.
Absolutely. He trained us because, he did play in the NFL. And he was a, college football player as well. And he prepared us, man. He would prepare us to play the game. But more importantly, he prepared us for the game of life.
I never got a chance to meet him, but I do know Coach Bob Wade, and I imagine they are of the same ilk.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. When I do know Coach Wade, I've had, a lot of conversations with him. I've met him at times at sports events. And so when our brand would come, he would give us that hospitality, Donnie, to make sure that we were seated, to make sure our cameras had access to all of the interviews that we wanted. So Coach Wade was always nice to me.
All right, so we're gonna chop it up tonight.
Okay.
I want to ask you this: when you watch the Olympics,
Okay. What's the question?
what's missing?
I mean, the way they do the Olympics is their traditional way. As a kid, I thought that it was more excitement in the early days with ABC, but now they branch it off to different networks, and the networks have their own way of doing it. And I think that they kind of string out the good stuff to the end of the Olympics because it's a 2-week period. So they start out with the Summer Olympics. They give you the swimming. And then midway through the end of the first week, you start getting the track and field. And then that second week, at the very beginning, is when you start getting the stuff that the basketball and the volleyball and things of that nature. I don't think that anything is missing. I just think that all of these events have hampered the enthusiasm and excitement. I think the pandemic pushed it back a year.
I got a slightly different perspective.
Come on, I'm listening.
The Olympics are white. The judges white. I watch the track and field. All of these runners are every shade of black and brown.
True, that is true.
But the dude with the hat on, they pop the gun, and they make them sisters stay down there in starting position like an extended period of time, like they want to get a couple of extra peeps at their booty or something. And then somebody do a false start, and then they got to do it all over again. I just want to know, why are all of the judges old white guys with hats on? Like, can't nobody else be a judge? Tell you something else. You got me started now.
Uh-oh, come on.
The photographers. You got people breaking world records, and every photographer is a white boy. Not one black man running down the field, snapping the pictures. Usain Bolt, Shelly Ann Frazier, all of these black icons. And so my thing is, to the athletes, they got to start becoming conscientious, kind of like the 68 Olympics, and start calling this stuff out. We should be in every facet of the game. And has there ever been an Olympics in Africa?
Wow. Not that I know of.
How in the hell is that so?
Well, I think that those committees,
they just stole enough money out of Africa to have every damn Olympic for the next 30 years in Africa.
And as athletes, what are you willing to put on the line to help those conversations take place?
I'll tell you what Kirk Flood put on the line. Kirk Flood put his entire career on the line for there even to be a free agency.
Right. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Became a derelict, fell into alcoholism and a whole bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, he sued American baseball and won.
And Donnie, I think that you're 100% correct about Kirk Flood. And I think, but to the Olympics, you don't get paid.
They get paid.
Well,
afterwards with the endorsements.
Okay. Is that during or after?
No, after. After, but you ain't getting no
right.
You ain't getting no check, you don't get no gold medal.
Well, well, through the sponsorships, that is true. But I think that we have to look more toward the athletes to get those conversations started. And
retired athletes.
Kirk Flood, like you mentioned, Kirk Flood. Kirk Flood was an athlete who got that chain moving. The Muhammad Ali's, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars, and the Bill Russells were in their athletic prime to get the ball moving about athletes and their rights and things of that nature. So it's going to take this generation to step out there. And you look at the LeBron Jameses who speak up on social issues, Carmelo Anthony and some of the other guys that do. But in those track and field and boxing, you're going to have to get the the players who at the top of the Olympic echelon to speak on those issues and bring those topics to the forefront.
Or retired ones who
Well,
don't have to jeopardize their career.
You can talk to the retired ones, but they need those present athletes, especially the sponsors, because that's what drives the numbers. And we're in America, and you know what the bottom line is? The economics. So everything is money.
No, not just that. It's institutional racism as well.
Okay, that is true. But when you're a present athlete and MasterCard wants you to sponsor their prize, it's about the economics on that basis as well. I mean, there are.
The guy from the Olympics, Tommy, and them, they missed out on a bunch of stuff because they protested.
Yes, they did. It took courage. It took a lot of courage for them to do what they did. But they should have been supported more by other athletes, and they weren't. That were willing to sacrifice.
What do you know about the Negro Leagues? You're a sports enthusiast.
I sat down with some of the Negro League players. We did a story on one of them because we went down to Leon Day Field. And we talked to a few Negro League players to talk about that era and that transition and how good those players were. And those guys had full-time jobs, and would come over and play Negro League baseball after work, and would play against the major league and beat them. The Yankees used to play against the Negro League players, against the Josh Gibsons and the Satchel Pages. And there was this one guy that would pitch right-handed and then rest part of the game, but then pitch left-handed the second part of the game. I can't think of his name right offhand. Two Guns somebody. But those were some talented guys. They were so talented that when they barnstormed and went around the country, they would have more white people probably at the games than some of the black folks there. And Major League Baseball struggled so hard to make the transition, but they wanted to have a nice guy who had the right image and the right temperament because they knew that he would deal with a lot of harsh treatment and not act out on it. And that's why they picked Jackie Robinson to be that player, because they looked at Josh Gibson, but they didn't think that he could be that guy that wouldn't act out on being called those racial names and having those racial overtones to playing in the field at those games. So it was a great league. They finally transitioned, but when they did transition, some of those great players were now out of their prime now. So you didn't really get to see the best of them, not unless you watch the barnstorm.
I'm really thinking about how we lost when as the majors evolved, the Negro Leagues declined.
Yes, they did. Yes,
we lost money.
Yes, because all of the black players' dreams was to play Major League Baseball. I think the Negro League was a product of, we can't get in the door, so let's create our own baseball league. And I felt the same way doing what I'm doing. I felt like I wouldn't get that fair shake to become that sports broadcaster that I always wanted to be. So I created.
Is that what you want?
Huh?
Is that what you want?
Well, yes, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it now.
Oh, okay.
Through my own brand.
Amen, hallelujah. I'm a witness, and keep doing what you're doing. God gave you everything you need to accomplish what you will. You don't need Negro, Caucasian, nobody out here to do what God calls. He said God qualifies the call. He don't call the qualified.
That's right. And Donnie, he said to me one day, why are you looking around for others to do for you what you can do for yourself?
Was that God or my daddy?
Well, I wasn't raised with a father, so it was a spiritual thing.
My
It was
daddy said it like this. He said, dude, when I was complaining to him once about racism, I want you to catch it. This is a hot one coming down third. You ready?
okay, I'm ready.
He said, do what only a black man can do.
Mm, mm.
That's what you doing.
That's right. Look, make potatoes and make mashed potatoes, French fries, baked potatoes, scalloped potatoes, fried potatoes.
He gave you everything you need. Tell me about how media technology has changed the game.
I mean, everything is right there. Everything is right there. Now, I have a team of people who work with me.
Big
I
up.
wouldn't be I wouldn't be the technical guy. I kind of delegate those responsibilities out. I know my position. I know my lane. And I'm comfortable with that. And I can't do everything. And nobody can do. You know, they said you don't know everything. So I have other people that can do the technical components, but things are all evolving so rapidly, from the cameras, the quality, the shots, the angles, the audio, the microphones, the lights. And we stay on the cutting edge of things. And I'm always bringing in young people who are innovative and have ideas, and I allow them to use their creativeness so we can continue to grow, build, and our brand. So I try my best not to pigeonhole them. I have a way that I want the show to look, but I also tell them when they're editing the show, be creative. Let me see what you're doing. If I like it, we're going to roll with it. And sometimes you decide to do things, we're going to roll with it anyway. So I'm definitely enjoying that aspect of the business as well. And so, you know, a lot of things you can do now, Donnie, you don't need the big studios anymore. You know, we shoot on locations. We find uh, um, little rooms that we can put our stuff up and make it look like a big studio. You got the green screens and you can put the images around them. You know what I mean, right? So things are changing, and it's making it easier for you to be successful. And of course, you do your homework, you bring your talent, and that's where school comes in. You know your writing skills, and when you get in front of that camera, you got to come off.
You got to deliver. It's showtime.
Yeah, that's right. It's showtime. And so you got to practice. Practice, practice, practice. Everybody sees Kevin Durant and LeBron and Lamar Jackson at the game. But who sees that summer when he's down there in Florida and he's throwing a Hollywood Brown and he's throwing 100 passes a day? The running, the conditioning. No cameras are there for that, Donnie. But
Tell me about Urban Sports Beat. What made you start it? What's it all about?
I wanted a vehicle to showcase youth sports and to show sports in a way that the major networks didn't do it, and culturally to bring it from the African American perspective. And I knew if I worked for a network, I would have to deliver what they wanted me to deliver. But I knew if I had my own brand, we could deliver what we wanted to. And that would create that freedom that we wanted to have and tell the stories from our experiences and not us being shown through someone else's perspective. And I had to conceptualize everything and then turn the thoughts into action, the brain work into action, and how to start that route. And I initially started through other people, but I wanted to be able to tell those stories that the networks don't cover. And all of these kids that are now successful, we had them first. We
I,
interviewed.
I got to put a plug in on that very note to Big Brother SWAT, who I know from Easterwood Park, who made sure that I got in touch with you. So I don't want to get pimp slapped when I go up Mondawmin again. Thank you, the Big Brother SWAT.
Yes, a big supporter. a big supporter. He loved what we had in mind. He loved what we were doing. He knew that it was needed. And the thing that we do that's a little different, Donnie, we talk to youth that are great athletes, but we stress the importance of the academic component.
I got to be honest with you, Troy. I don't care about another damn Heisman Trophy winner. Let me tell you why.
Why?
I'm all for us succeeding. But in our community, we tend, and maybe America overall, we tend to lift the athlete up above everybody else. And for me, talking about old school, talking about my daddy, grandma, them lessons, they say to whom much is given, much is required.
I agree 100%.
So when I look around the city of Baltimore,
wow,
and I see the same recreation centers that I attended, and I'm not saying our athletes have to come back and rebuild Baltimore, but I am asking, can you come back and help rebuild Baltimore?
You know, what I've noticed about some athletes, when they descend to those higher levels, they start having buffers that disconnect them from the community. And those people who supported them before they got to that level are now disconnected because now they have the buffers in the middle, and you got to go through the buffer to get to the athlete.
And a lot of times them buffers not even black.
There you go.
I went to cover a famous running back from the Baltimore Ravens, a rendezvous somewhere down in Columbia where this famous running back was training. And I looked around, it was a gym. We were in there shooting a commercial. And I looked around and all of the assistants were white boys. Now, I'm not anti anybody, but I'm saying to myself, black man, of these 14 people in here, it's only one black man. Can you count, brother? Do you understand power, brother? Do you understand that you're feeding 13 different households from a different community and only one in your own? That's what I really wanted to ask the famous running back.
Wow.
This famous running back, the Ravens ended up putting his, recalling his jersey.
Recall. Oh, okay. Okay. And you know, I don't know where that what happens is, I believe once those athletes push over to that next level, Donnie, then those partners come in, those naming right people come in, and they bring their own people in there. And then those people become those buffers. And I think when you're a young athlete ascending to that level, you're not mindful and conscious of everything that's taking place. And a lot of times when you figure it out, most athletes are seasoned. But when you a newbie coming in, because this is all new to you. I saw the young guy today on a TV show talked about, he plays in BMF. And he plays the guy Terry. And he said he didn't come from this upbringing. So everything is new. So he's trying to figure out how to compartmentalize everything, the success, the people, the money, the family members, everything is just coming. And he wasn't trained as an actor or a family who he can watch and model who's been successful before him. And so a lot of these young athletes are ascending into areas that they're not used to. It's like one day you're a nobody, and then bam, you become somebody.
They call it nouveau riche, newly rich.
Yes.
Nouveau riche.
Right. And it's like one day you can stand out on the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and nobody pays you no attention. Then the next time you come, cars are stopping, the horns are beeping, people are getting out the cars. You got to get security. And it's a quick transition because you grinding. You in your field, you training, you practicing, you preparing. That's what you're doing most of the time. And then you are participating in your sport. You're not thinking about all those other areas on a daily basis that eventually going to have to come into play about your connection to your community, your connection to the recreational centers that help produce you. They need help as well. And that's what you're talking about, rebuilding those communities, rebuilding those recreational centers, putting new inventory in the recreational center that you use for 10 years.
That's
That's,
what I love about a LeBron James, and big ups to Carmelo Anthony.
you took the words out of my mouth.
However it happened, I've heard this story, that story. I was there when they had the grand opening. I know some things happened, this happened, blah, blah, blah. But we saw an NBA superstar with Baltimore history do something right there in the heart of East Baltimore. And somebody else took that building over recently. It has nothing to do.
Under Armour.
Under Armour.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I'm not saying it's easy, but we all can do something. I've also heard superstar athletes, I've heard the excuse that, well, they don't want people to know how much money they got, or they don't want other people getting the idea to reach out to them. And it's like, come on, man. Now, I got another question for you.
Come on.
I want you to school me. We about the same age, but you know things I don't know. I want to know, what possesses a black man that just got his first contract, the first damn thing he buys is 2 earrings? I want you to explain that to me.
Look, I've never owned an earring, brother. So, but I think that,
I mean, the white boys, you don't see them with no earrings, no tattoos. And it's like, as soon as we...
important to us, Donnie? What seems to be important to us?
Looking attractive.
Huh?
Eyeballs, being seen.
True. And we are inclined on a large scale to focus on what makes us feel like somebody. And a lot of that comes in materialism.
But why 2 earrings, though? I'm trying to get that part. Who set that as the trend? Because that seemed to be the trend. And again, I don't see the white boys doing it. And look, I ain't against nobody's tattoos. But damn, man. Cats got tattoos
everywhere. Yeah.
A big tattoo.
Well, I have 0 tattoos.
Me too. You don't put a bumper sticker on a Porsche.
No, you don't. No, you do not. And that's this generation, Donnie. I can't explain it. I really can't.
No, this 2-3 generations down. We get old.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. Now that the tattoos are out of control. I mean, you got them all over their bodies. Now I see where they put them on their faces, like what Mike Tyson did. They put the tattoo on their faces now, man. So
there's explain this to me. Tell me what you see on Good Morning America. I don't know the brother's name, but there's I believe a former ball player that now does Good Morning America.
Okay, Michael Strahan?
No.
Nate Burleson?
That could be him.
Nate Burleson does CBS Morning. Michael Strahan does Good Morning America.
No, he used to. He moved on. He moved on to something else.
Okay, well, Nate Burleson does it with Gayle King.
Yes,
Nate Burleson, former.
That's a great job. I'm really getting to the transition. As you know, a lot of football players, NFL, when their career's over, some of them are broke within 10 years. So when I see some of our athletes now getting into sportscasting,
right?
Like in promoting the night show, we put up a picture of you and Stephen Smith. I'm just paying attention to more blacks getting into broadcasting after their career in sports. And that's a beautiful thing. Even the NFL, it's just nice to see athletes who can articulate.
Yes.
Who can hold their own, who can carry a conversation, without being unnecessarily buffoonish.
Yes. And I think that some athletes want to stay close to the game. They want to stay close to the sport. And that's a way of doing it. If you don't get involved in coaching or become a sports agent, broadcasting is another medium that keeps the athlete close to the sport. And he continues to make pretty good money. So those are the routes that athletes are taking. You know, coaching, agents, broadcasting, those are the ways, and you can still make a lucrative income. So those are the areas, and like you say, they're talented guys. They play football, but they can do other things as well. You know, Jay-Z always said it, I'm not a rapper, I'm a hustler. It just so happens I know how to rap. And so if I can take rapping to elevate me to the next level, then I can become a businessman, entrepreneur, and do those other things, then so be it. So those guys are taking their gifts and using them. You know, they got to go to school to become sportscasters. You know, I had to take like a voice and diction class, you know, public speaking, theater, all of those types of things you have to do to get into the medium that you want to get into, because you know the deck is stacked against us. So you got to come in there, you got to be 5 times as nice just to be equal. You know, I look at, remember the Rat Pack, I'm dating myself, but you know,
Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra.
But who was the most talented guy that hung with them?
Sammy
Davis Jr.
Sammy.
Just to be an equal. He could dance, sing, act, do all those different things where the other guys just had 1 or 2 gifts or talents. But Sammy had about 5 or 6 gifts and talents. But just to be equal, he had to do that. That's what you got to be. And it is what it is.
How significant is Deion Sanders going back to the college field to coach football at an HBCU?
Deion wants to have an impact. And Deion is a teacher. And he understood that the college kids will be more attentive. He could impact them. They would probably follow better directions, because he was.
But he had the wherewithal to go to an HBCU.
That too, and he was culturally conscious. That he wanted to impact African American kids who he needed, and he knew talent was there that could make it to the NFL, and he could help harness that. There was a blessing in that, Donnie. There was a blessing in that. And so I believe God stared him, because he could have went anywhere because he prime time.
Jay-Z, you talk about Jay-Z, start another trend.
Right. And so
Eddie John?
Huh?
Who's the guy with Tennessee? He went to coaching. Eddie John?
Eddie George.
Eddie George.
Eddie George, the former running back. Yes.
He's now doing the same thing. So Neon Deion started a whole trend.
Now he's got others wanting to do the same thing that he did.
That's beautiful.
And any way that we can get it, I'm all for it.
Here go Michael Haney playing that. See, Michael Haney, he got his own show, but he like to take over our show.
So what's the question? He wants to know why no NFL players were drafted in the recent NFL draft. However, many were signed.
I'm gonna do something I don't normally do with Michael Haney, but Michael Haney. There, the link. You already know the link. Stop playing Michael Haney, because what he won't be doing is backseat driving for me.
What do you say, Daddy? Why you driving too fast, huh? From the back seat?
No, hey, why you ain't turn left?
You're going your route, right? You're going the way you know to go.
But we play team ball. So who is the baddest? So this is baseball season. So I got to throw you a curveball. Big ups to James Motion Baseball.
Yes.
You might be one of the Forest Park. You Forest Park?
Word, Motion. I've worked with James Mosher. I've interviewed them and had them on my show in the past as well. You
All right,
name
so
it.
I got a curveball coming for you. The baddest basketball player to ever come out of Baltimore.
Oh, that's easy, man. That's easy, Donnie. The honey dip.
I
Skip.
heard it was one before the honey dip, the one who inspired him.
But still, he may be bad, but Skip has the reputation as being the baddest to ever come out of Baltimore. And you better not go around the basketball community talking about somebody else.
Tony Brown, that's his name. Tony Brown. You ever heard of him?
Yes, I heard of Tony Brown. He's from East Baltimore too. I heard
He was on the scene just prior to Skip, if I'm not mistaken.
He died prematurely though, right?
I don't know the whole story, but let's go to that. What has drugs stolen? What have drugs stolen from us on the sports tip?
A lot. Tremendous impact on our sports community. Oh my God. I love to watch Lynn Bias. And recently on my show, I had Ernest Graham and I had Skip Wise. And I talked to Ernest about, Lynn Bias.
No, his girlfriend stabbed him, Tony Brown. He was on his way and then his girlfriend put it in him.
Okay, I knew he died prematurely. Okay. Now, Ernest Graham played at the University of Maryland. You know who Ernest Graham, Lynn Bias said that Ernest Graham was his hero. Lynn Bias, when he was in high school, he used to come to the Maryland practices and Ernest would give him his old sneakers. And he was one of his role models coming out of high school. Ernest Graham was Lynn Bias's one of his role models coming out of high school. He looked up to him. And so when he died, it impacted it changed the drug laws, Donnie. The cocaine and the crack situation changed. Congress changed the drug law because of the death of Lynn Bias. I mean, what a talent. He was up there in the same light as Michael Jordan. I had a chance to meet Lynn Bias twice when he was at Maryland as a player. And he was with a young lady. I'm not going to name her because she is a celebrity as us in her own right. And when I met him at a game out, Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas used to have barnstorming tours with basketball.
What's barnstorming?
Meaning like the old Negro League. They would go from different city and city to put on games. And this is when not going to.
Do they call it 4x4 today?
I don't know what they call it
today. No. Dr. Dre, they got a new 4x4 league.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 3-on-3.
3-on-3. I'm slow.
Yeah. You talk about Ice Cube.
Yeah, Ice Cube. I got it all wrong.
They would do it something like that. But they had all the big stars. And they would create their own little basketball tournaments. And this is when the NBA was over. And they would go around the summer and do this. And so when we got there, he parked right next to us. And me and my buddies got out the car. I said, that's Lynn Bias right there. So I said, what's up, Lynn? How you doing? And he looked at me and he was humbled. He said, hey, how you doing, man? And the girl said to him, you know him? And he was like, nah. And he was in that transition from just being a regular basketball player to becoming a superstar. And so now wherever he went, everybody knew who he was. And, for me to see what ultimately happened to him was such a tragedy.
So I'm sensing that there should be some type of psychological training for star athletes coming out of high school, particularly in the Black community, because we struggle with this. I mean, a lot of times, we talked about, some of the white boys briefly. They tend to have a solid structure, a more solid structure where they're not going to mess the money up. Not saying they don't.
But, they have seminars for rookies coming into the pros now, where they talk to them about money. They talk to them about social life, They talk to them about, making, proper decisions as an professional athlete, about getting your rest, about eating properly. If you have any emotional issues, they will provide counseling and therapy now. But that's at
But that's a
pro
dirty
level.
word. Therapy, counseling.
Yes.
Who wants to admit, hey, I drink too much? Hey, I sniff on the weekend.
Especially in our community, Donnie, we don't like to share that we have an issue going on.
My father was an alcoholic. My grandfather was an alcoholic. My father was a dope fiend. My grandfather. Yeah, nobody wants to talk about that.
Not in our community. But how do we break the cycle?
That's the only way you break it. Address it head on.
But a lot of people aren't willing to do that.
Okay, it's live or die. Which one is important? Because
look what's happening in our community now. How we living? What's happening?
We dying.
Yes.
We killing each other.
Yes.
And if it ain't over a bag of dope, it's over a girl. You turn on the news. I mean, that's why I enjoy seeing other programs like yours, because it's depressing.
Yes.
Let's be honest. Baltimore is a depressing place at times.
Yes. Tell the truth.
God forbid, when we had Flacco as quarterback, not only was Sunday depressing, Monday was depressing too. You needed Monday to overcome Sunday's loss, so you ain't no good at work till Tuesday.
Hey, but he had a couple good years.
Oh my God. Oh boy.
Listen, Donnie, when we had Ray and Ed and Haloti Nada, Joe's job was to not get us in trouble.
They said the defense won the Super Bowl.
There you go. Well, Joe's job was not to get us in trouble. And he stayed in his lane. He didn't try to be Joe Montana. He didn't try to be Tom Brady. He made the plays that were given to him. And Ray and Ed and Haloti Nada and those guys did all the work to bring home the championship, because that was their team.
All right, I got a knuckleball for you. I got a knuckleball for you now.
Come on.
What you know about hockey? You cover sports beat. Did you know black people was playing hockey in the 1800s?
No, now not in the 1800s. I didn't know that. Wow.
Well, who
invented the game of hockey, Donnie?
Up in Canada, the Indians.
Okay.
But a lot of blacks, as a result of the Underground Railroad, ended up in Canada.
Right.
So if you just Google black hockey Canada 1800s, come on, bro. Who you think invented skating backwards?
Of course we did that, boo. With your ball bearing number 5s? You remember the ball bearing number 5s, Daddy?
I never got a pair. My daddy was an undertaker, and he had to bury one of my neighbor's kids because they would jump on the back of a bus. This was the 60s.
Yes.
Where you could jump on the back of the bus with your skates, and he slipped and got run over by a car, and I never, ever got no skates.
Wow.
By the time I got skates, I might have been 16. I had a skateboard, but he was just fundamentally opposed. I mean, I understand. It was the kid I grew up with, older kid, but tragic.
Yeah, and that scared your dad. He wanted you to have that bright future that you wind up having, And I can remember watching you so often on television talking about politics and all of that. I said, look at this guy here, Donnie Glover. He's doing his thing. And this before the same, brother. So you were out there before me. So I used to watch you on the shows, giving your opinion on politics and all these different city council issues, and going down to Annapolis, and they would bring you on as a political pundit to give your perspective on things, or why things were happening, and why this vote went the way that it went, and why this person didn't get reelected. You had such insight on that political scene, man. And
but
I
just like what you were saying about the sports, we took our passion and found a way to broadcast it and reach even more people doing something that only you could do.
Yeah. But what put you out there? What made them gravitate to Donnie Glover's perspective on politics?
I shared this with you in private.
Oh, okay. That brought them right to you.
The TV is nice. The radio show, 20 years at Radio 1, that's nice. But show them what you can do. Show them what you can do with this thing right here. This thing here, I used to share with.
That's the foundation.
This is a running game.
Okay.
This is the running game. This is downhill, straight up the middle. Put that pen on them. A pen is forever. The written word. You know, like my second book. I can't wait to see what you come up with. I Am Black Wall Street. I Am Black Wall Street.
I'm
writing.
Donnie, I hear that they're talking about making a movie about it.
I've heard that. I've heard that a couple different times.
More recently, though, they're trying to put together a production. And
if they don't read this book, they're gonna miss the whole thing, because it's not just about Oklahoma. The first people that got it, let's see if I get this closer. You see the map up the top? The first people that got to Oklahoma were from Florida.
Rosewood?
Great question. The entire state of Florida. Up until 1831, Spain owned Florida.
Okay.
Spain was not one of the original colonies. So
right.
That meant that if you escaped to Florida from Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina, if you made it to Florida, you're free.
Wow. Now, I've been hearing recently about Central Park belonged to a group of blacks, that they took it from them as well.
Called Seneca Village. It's in this book. Right there between 82nd and 89th Street. They knocked it down by eminent domain and finished up Central Park. That was 1835. And 1820, no, that was 1828. A few years later, over in Brooklyn, a similar thing, Weeksville. And they still have an area there today in Brooklyn, in between Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights on Buffalo Avenue. They got the Weeksville Heritage Center.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Now,
so we had Black Wall Streets all over the country.
Now, I have another question for you, Donnie. In California, there's a beach that was owned by a black family or a group of blacks that was taken from them. And most recently, Governor Gavin Newsom just turned it back over to them. Do you know anything about that?
I was just learning about it with the rest of the company, with the rest of the country. But it's obviously very famous out there. Don't get me to guess the name, but yes, I saw it in the news where they stole those people's land and they finally gave it back, and that's worth millions of dollars. Let me tell you something. Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Yes.
You know that was black owned.
No, I did not.
Yeah. So off of the coast of South Carolina is what they call the Gullah Islands.
Right. That was one of the entry points for the slave trade, wasn't it?
Well, they came up onto the mainland.
Okay.
It's an interesting question you raised. Have you heard of the 1619 Project?
Vaguely, but I'm familiar. Yeah, vaguely.
They're trying to say that the first blacks came to this country in 1619. Tell those famous black authors, including, I won't call no names, tell them to get this book, because we were here before 1619. Actually, the first black in America after, once the Europeans started coming, because we were already here.
Yeah, right.
But the first blacks that came after the first European were free. Juan Garrido, Garrido, right here in the book. Juan Garrido. He was a Spanish conquistador. Let me ask you this. You ever heard of the Moors?
Absolutely. They owned Spain for 600 years.
So that means they control the ships.
They were in Italy too.
So that means they control everything, including the ships.
Okay.
Those Moors were traveling to the Americas. So when Spain finally got their ships back and Columbus come on the scene, all they did was follow the black people who had been coming here.
Right. That were already coming here. That's right.
You got to pay attention to Spain. A lot of black history there. The
Yeah.
Moors,
Yeah.
700 years, 800 years.
They paved the road in gold.
Yeah, built some of the first universities,
That's
taught
right.
Europeans how to bathe.
That's right. And they had it for 600 years. So the impact.
800, 800 years.
Okay. 800 years. Okay.
Let me give you this. You've been out Druid Hill Park.
Absolutely.
You've been around the reservoir. You ever see the tower on the east end of the reservoir, that tall tower?
Yes.
That's Moorish. That's Spanish. That's black.
Mm.
We've been here.
And
We've been all over the world. Long before any slave ship, any of that. We've been here. If you go to Nevada, there are Egyptian artifacts in Kincaid's Cave in Nevada. But look, we done got off the topic. I want you to plug your work and all the great stuff you doing.
You can catch Urban Sports Beat every Saturday night at 12:30 on My TV Baltimore, which is channel 24, which is a part of Fox 45.
Okay, so let me get this. 12
30
midnight?
a.m. Yes, 12:30 a.m. Saturday nights on My TV Baltimore. Every Saturday night. You can catch us weekdays on the public access channel, People 75. Now you got to go to their website to look at the times that the shows will air. And you may catch a show at 12 noon on a Monday, Tuesday at 4, Thursday at 8 p.m. So they have their own scheduling.
Is that right?
Yeah. And weekdays on People 75 public. Yes, that is correct. And we just finished a show that they named a street there. They had a street dedication ceremony for Mr. Leon Howard, who has been an institution in East Baltimore, who raised the kids like you talked about in the rec centers over there. And he had the pleasure of raising and teaching the game of life in basketball to the likes of Skip Wise, Ernest Graham, Tyrone Muggsy Bogues, Sam Cassell, Kirk Lee, just to name a few. On this present show that'll be coming up this Saturday night will be a brand new show. We were there at Coppin State University when they dedicated the arena floor to Ron Fang Mitchell. And we were there to cover it. We have a sit-down interview with him. We talked to hosts of NBA TV, Miss Stephanie Reddy, who's a graduate of Coppin State University, and Fang Mitchell was one of her role models who helped her elevate to the level in which she is today. And she talked about that a little bit. Also, we were at St. Francis Academy to interview one of the top 50 players in America, outside linebacker by the name of Derek Moore, who will be taking his talents to the University of Oklahoma next year. And he's a product of Baltimore City Public Schools. And so he talks about growing up in a challenged environment and overcoming obstacles to now be on the cusp of reaching his dream of playing college football. So, and that's what we do at Urban Sports Week. We talk to youth about education. And for that kid who is sitting home, who doesn't want to be a part of a gang or getting in trouble, he can see our show, and hopefully that can give him hope.
Hey, we didn't cover boxing. You cover any gyms?
Yes, I covered Upton Gyms. I covered Umar. I've covered
Mac Lewis
over there at Time to Grind Boxing. I've done extensive work with Javante Tank Davis, Lorenzo Truck Simpson, Malik Hawkins. Matter of fact, we've done a documentary with Tank and Truck that we never.
I just want to make sure you keep pushing the black history on these cats, making sure Tank Davis know about Joe Gans.
Yes, he's familiar with them.
That's what I want. I want our people. I'm all for the sports, but know your history.
Yes, know the legacy of the game. Be a historian. Absolutely.
Like Floyd. You know,
No
Floyd
history.
says some crazy stuff politically, but when it comes to history of boxing,
He knows it.
I don't know that I've ever seen anyone that can match his knowledge. He studied the game.
Yes.
I try to explain to people about full-time boxers and part-time boxers, like when Floyd had to fight Pacquiao. Pacquiao's a congressman. So I
Right.
pose the question, who's going to spend more time in the gym? Floyd or Pacquiao? Floyd, because
Right.
Pacquiao is also a congressman.
Right. He has other responsibilities to the people. To the people.
Now, you going to go in there and take somebody lunch money who been in that gym all day? You got to be a bad hombre. One last question. Who is the
Yeah.
greatest athlete you've ever met?
That I've ever met? Oh,
Yeah.
that's it.
For me, it was Muhammad Ali.
I never met Muhammad Ali.
I met him at Coppin. He
Wow.
came, and let me tell you, what I'll never forget, he stayed. Troy, he stayed and shook every hand.
Wow. That's a
Not one bodyguard.
With how many?
None.
Wow.
Now, that's a champion.
That's a champion. Much respect to the great Muhammad.
When he was buried, one of the pallbearers from Baltimore, Sophia Robb, because wherever Muhammad Ali went, he could pick up that phone and call people in that city. He knew people everywhere. Oh, yeah. He had much love for Baltimore.
I love Muhammad Ali, no question about it. He is truly one of my heroes.
The stances he took, to not go to war,
absolutely,
to change his religion.
Absolutely. And he is one of the pillows that I can rely on when I feel down, when I feel like I'm overwhelmed, when I feel like things aren't going my way. I can look at his example that he left behind, that framework, Donnie, to say, push on.
He shook up the world.
That's right. I'm the greatest of all time. I can't be beat. I'm too pretty.
Float like a butterfly.
Sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. Hey, man.
Went to Africa and created a sense of black unity worldwide. Who was he over there fighting?
George Foreman.
Foreman.
Zaire. And
the rumble in the jungle.
The rumble in the jungle.
And he spent extra time over there getting to know the people.
Now, are you familiar with a guy by the name of Harold Bell?
No.
He's a DC guy. He's about 80. He's been like a mentor to me. And he had his own TV show in the 70s. And he's no Sugar Ray Leonard. And Muhammad Ali was a really good friend of his. And he said Muhammad wanted to take him to Zaire, but Earl said he didn't like to fly. He said, I'm not going to no Zaire. He said, well, when I come back, he told Ali, called him a scaredy cat because he wouldn't fly over there to the fight. But he said when he came home, Ali said, when I come home, you're going to be the first interview I do. And when he came home, he said it was 2:00 in the morning. Ali called him. He said, where you at, Muhammad? He said, New York, come on now. And he got his crew together and he went to New York, and Ali gave him the first interview back after beating old Big George Foreman over in Zaire, Africa. A man of his word, a man of honor, a man of integrity. We should all aim for that high. That's the great Muhammad.
I'm going to give you the final word on the show. I want you to say something to our young people along the lines of inspiration, encouragement, letting them know that they can do anything they put their minds to.
If I can do it, anybody can do it. Stay focused. Stay connected to what you want to do. And by all means, do something that you love to do where money is not involved at all. Do it because you love it. And if you do it because you love it, eventually the money will come. But do it for the love. Do it because you love to do it, man. And let that be your gift, because you won't stop. You won't give up. You will never surrender, because that's what you love to do. So find something that you are passionate about and let that be your dream and let that be your goal. And I can almost guarantee you, you will reach the level that you always wanted to reach. But it starts with getting the education. I can't say it enough. Get your education and the door will open. People will come to you that you never expected to help you. God will open the door. He will bring strangers to you when you least expect it to give you a helping hand. So stay true, stay focused, and keep on driving and thriving for success.
Troy, we appreciate you. We're proud of you. Please don't make this the last time. And
We got to do it again, man.
whatever we can do here to support your efforts, I promise you, I will do everything that I can, as well as my team.
Well, I will be in contact with you, brother, and thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate you, man. And we gotta have another one of them nice conversations that we had last week, man.
Yes, big brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
Much
you.
love. We'll be back tomorrow morning for the 10 o'clock morning show. Good night, world.